This is the Godig channel, and we take a competitive look at Lorcana. Today, we're looking at the location mechanic and discussing how viable it is for the competitive scene. All right, let's get this thing started.
All right, so it's been about like a week, and these locations have been out. I've been checking out some tournaments. It's not really looking that impactful, except for a couple colors. So it's the obvious ones: Ruby Amethyst. I think Queen's Castle's got to be the best location. Is there any objections here, or
I think I mainly wanted to talk about first what makes locations good because I run locations on my deck personally, and I don't know. You know that we played so many games at this point, but I was able to play some more competitive matches, and I'm going to go to League Night tomorrow from the time of recording this. But yeah, I think Ruby and gosh, Amethyst has any color that has access to a two lore gaining location is pretty good because the idea is you want to divert the attention from your characters slash items and you want locations to kind of take the eye of the opponent because ultimately they're swinging at something. They're not getting damaged, but they're not questing, and that's the main thing. It's like as long as they're not questing, you have time to rebuild your characters. Play out actions if you need to, etc., etc., etc. So in my list, I'm running a Ruby Emerald, but and I'm running only Fang City and RLS Legacy with Jim Hawkins because he plays it for free. They both have a higher um, willpower. What to say, toughness because I played so much Magic. They have higher willpower, and it's just harder for opponents to deal with that in one turn, or without dealing with that without hitting it with multiple characters. And that's kind of what you want to do. You want to turn to either them address it or them ignore it, and you're just getting past lore anyway. So it's kind of like a win-win for you. But the problem comes when you have a location, you don't have a plan after that. So if you just if it gets killed, then you essentially, you both kind of waste a turn because if you don't have anything after the location's placed at the next turn or something like that, you're kind of looking in trouble. I like pairing this up with Be Prepared. So I like playing locations out turn 5, turn 6, and then Be Prepared turn 7. And that's now that the character's clear. Now we're building together, but I'm getting passive lore because my locations to get wiped out due to Be Prepared. Um, I haven't played the Amethyst Ruby variant, but I do know how strong the Queen Council is. I was 2-0 in the competitive tournament, and the last round, it was 3-round system. The last round I played against an Amethyst Ruby player, and they were playing. Actually, I gave them the Queen's Council, which is hilarious. But it just has almost infinite card draw. What it felt like, especially against my kind of pseudo control with this card thing I got going on with Ruby Emerald. And actually, you can see in the pre-roll this video of me playing the deck that I actually played at that tournament. If you're paying attention to that, but yeah, I think locations have a place when they give you some implicit value, like Fang City, where you move characters there and they gain Warden Evasive, or they just quest for 2, like Agrabah, Fang City, Scrooge Duck Mansion, etc., etc., etc.
I
So
think
with
Quest
that
for
being
Two is nice. I do think Quest for Two is nice, but I think it's better if you have an additional effect, like specifically Fang, RLS, and Queen's Castle. Having that additional effect plus the 2 lore is such a double whammy that is really hard to beat, especially if you have Ruby in your deck and you can Jim Hawkins this scenario, and then you get the Queen Castle basically immediate advantage, or RLS immediate advantage, or Fang City immediate advantage off of it being placed and then moving a character there for free versus Agabar or Scrooge, because you just kind of have to hard cast that. and then hopefully have ink to move somebody on there. But like you probably don't. It kind
I
of
mean,
feels like a Sorcerer's Spellbook in a way.
yeah, it's kind of just like there to just gain lore, right? I think that's its purpose, especially with like the Scrooge Mansion and like the Agrabah. Agrabah is easier to kill, so it's great. I mean, it's cheap. It's a 3 cost location. You just put it down, especially later. Once you get later in the game, you can put that down with the character and just like who you're gonna deal with. I guess you can deal with the location, but my character's gonna develop just fine, and now you're exerted, so I can take it out if I have a higher health value or something like that. But yeah, Agrabah was annoying because I be prepared it. I think he prepared as well in that game. It was just super slow and like he was just constantly getting cards. I even had Donald Duck out giving him extra cards, but it honestly didn't matter. He was able to play whatever's in his hand. And at one point, he had 3 locations in the field, and I had no way to deal with them. Um, I don't know, but the main thing is also looking at the higher willpower on these things. So like Arliss has 8 willpower, and Scrooge Mansion has the 9 willpower. That's super hard to deal with. Steel's the only one with outright location removal / damaging locations without swinging a character into it. So I think that it's gonna be a thing. It's gonna be a point of contention. It's gonna be something you always have to look at. Something I always have to assess. But I feel like new players are gonna fall into things like, oh, location is stupid. I'm trying to lock that out. But it's gonna really its ability to divert them from your actual game plan is gonna be really show through, especially when we get more in the future. That's what I think. At this
I
moment in time.
think sometimes, like with these locations, I don't think they're like. I think Scrooge is good, but I don't know if how good it is to put into a deck because, like, when you look at trying to play these cards, it's kind of hard to play these cards on curve. Like you're putting yourself pretty behind just playing it on curve. And even though Scrooge has 9 health, I could potentially have characters at that mana value or ink value rather, uh, do more for me in the immediate, and then be able to quest that next turn as well, even for 2. And it's like, oh, you can't kill it, but sometimes your opponent can not care about it and speed win the game before it matters. Like most aggro lists or
I see what
even
you're
like
saying. But I also see an aggro list themselves. So we're gonna talk about these in a little bit, kind of ranking them. But the 1-drop locations, those are like honestly like free, turn 1 plays. If you especially don't have things like teeth inhibitions or stuff you want to do with your turn 1, just playing the location down. It's no one's gonna deal with it early. They're just gonna kind of leave it and kind of leave it on the back burner and deal with it later. They don't have an ability, so they don't have like that kind of lightning round aspect, but they just gain you 1 lore per turn, and you can develop characters alongside of them in your subsequent turns to kind of level your game plan, and then eventually they still going to have to deal with the location because ultimately, once you get down to the upper teens, I say honestly, when you're past 10 lore, that's when I start looking at locations because like any point that's where the OTKs come in. That's where like Jafar, you can do his thing. You got some goats out, and you have like a big quest turn thing, like things like that. I think yeah. So I think the idea is you can play some of these things on curve, and then on curve kind of looks different depending on what colors you play. Like with the Jim Hawkins scenario, you do want to play them on curve because you play Jim Hawkins on curve, and then you're getting a free location up for free. In that scenario, and in those cases, I usually reserve the RLS and ink the Fang City if that ends my hand. If I get multiple Fang Cities, I usually ink those as well. They're really good inkable targets most of the time, since most of them are inkable. I think. Let me double check. Yeah, Ruby's the only one that has uninkable locations, which is pretty cool. So it's like, compared to like the items I gave lore, like the I think it's a spellbook.
Yeah, spellbook.
Which is uninkable.
Like,
I feel like they're a little bit of like a safer option because like since they have that counterplay, Ravensburger is not going to be like, all right, they need to be uninkable too. They can just give you that lore once per turn for free, and then it's up to your opponent to deal with it however they see fit, depending on what colors they play. With that being said, I do want to highlight some locations that I feel like are not meta right now, because we just discussed like pretty much if we had to rank order them real quick, pretty much anyone's with 2 lore are pretty high up there, but let's say
Specifically,
like the
Queen
quote unquote
Castle is number one.
S tier. Yeah, Queen's Castle, Arliss Legacy, and Fang City are all like S tier
If I had to
locations.
rank it numbered, it's in that order.
Yeah. Then we got the Manor and the Agrabah. That's like tier A. You know, they're still giving you 2 lore per turn, but and they have like usually higher willpower, but you know they're vanillas. It's fine. They're still better than the 1-drop, even if the 1-drops have an ability, in my opinion. Then you have the 1-drops that have an ability, and really that's honestly a toss up because a lot of them are useless except for Pride Lands. So I think Pride Lands also gets the A tier, even though it's that's the other one that's uninkable. Um, but
Probably is
yeah,
a 2-drop.
yeah, 2-drop uninkable. Yeah, it's good because you know you get the additional what power while the characters are there, and then it costs less if a prince or a king is there. So it's just to play characters. So it's like a built-in uh the dock built-in dock just on the field, ever present since you have a prince or a king there. Just put like a symbol there. You can put like the prince there, etc., etc., etc. It gets a bunch of value. So I put that in A tier. Only dinging it because it have a higher lore value, and it's an inkable. But the rest of them, rest of the 1-drop on inkables are higher than I think like Cusco's Palace.
I,
Uh,
I've seen
Motani,
a
I feel like
couple of
Motani's up
lists.
there.
I think Motani has it's underplayed right now, but I think the longer the game goes, and even if this set, like more of this set develops, and I think I
Yeah,
want to do a little testing with it more as well, especially on Ruby Sapphire list. Having this and playing this on curve is actually not bad because you plan to be prepared around turn 6, turn 7. So being able to just put a couple of chumps on there and then getting a wipe and getting ink is pretty good. And then I still think like in other color combinations with Sapphire, you can still kind of like maybe set up bodyguards with steel or something on that position and have it have value. So I think it has a little bit more value than initially perceived by the meta right now, but I don't think it's like one of the star locations either.
yeah.
Same
I'm
thing with
gonna put it in B tier with those 1-drops,
same thing
personally.
with Bayou as well. I've seen Bayou played in a few Steel Song lists just for that edge over ink, and it may be able to cycle you when you're towards that top deck scenario. So it's like not top decking because obviously you would cycle the card, but like if you have 2 cards in your hand, you can maybe use that to get what you need to push for game or find out a whole new world or something. So it's it's something. I have seen it.
Yeah, but like things like Tiana's Palace, which is also an inkable. I missed all the Amber ones apparently. Uh, uh, can't be challenged while here. That's cool. I mean, it has 8 willpower, but it does cost 2 to move people there. And if you don't have turns to develop that, like turns to help you get people on the location, especially towards the end of the game, I don't know. I just don't see the value right now, and it's gonna get better, I believe. But I put that around like that's gonna be around like the C tier thing, and then at the bottom,
I think it's everyone that
are
don't
things
have more
are
value. Every
yeah,
single one
yeah.
don't have more value.
Bell's House,
Not
Jolly
for real.
Roger, Maui's Palace, Sorcerer's Tower,
I
especially
think
Sorcerer's Tower. That's
Jolly
room.
Roger has a little bit of merit, but
That one's like the edge of like the end of B, but like the rest of them in
nah,
trash.
beginning of C.
Uh,
Beginning of C. Like Bell's House entirely too slow. I think they're
I don't know.
entirely too character dependent because you can't play
Yeah,
it on
yeah,
curve because it puts you behind. It just puts you flat out behind, and then it's like you. I guess they want you to have more ink and like towards a later game, turn 7, 8, 9, and you could play it and then try to move people there. But by that time, I don't really need most of these values. Like Bell's House becomes weaker the more ink I have, and then like
yeah.
Maui's, it's not that bad,
It's just
but
like
like,
I don't. What do I need resist one for? And it's like it gets hit by Maui. Like Maui can just knock it out pretty fast. Shrug. I don't know.
yeah,
It's just how I feel about it. I feel like I haven't seen a list that utilizes Maui's Palace to its full extent, and then like developing that, it does cost 2 ink, so it's like it's a little awkward sometimes, especially when you're trying to get characters out as well. And then the broom
it's Broom Game.
fiasco with Sorcery, it lol.
I
That's
think
what.
maybe if you were really trying to do like Amethyst Sapphire, it may have some merit. Maybe
when
because
you
you
do
can
when
Lucky
you do
Dime
Amethyst
and get
Steel
with
to get
it.
all the brooms.
I mean, yeah, but like I think the broom line is a tad bit of a bait. Like it's more about the characters getting that +1 lore there, which would go to their lore value, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
And then you could use like Lucky Dime and it have more of an effect.
yeah, or like maybe like a 99 puppy situation where it's like, all right, here's just
Oh
some
yeah,
more.
like a 99 puppies. That's what I'm saying. I think they were trying to go for that like late game bomb location. Then you just spend the rest of your ink to just move everybody there and try to win. So I'll give Sorcerer's Tower that merit, but that's like
It's on the
the
bottom. It's
only
the bottom list right
one.
now for
Yeah,
us.
and
Yeah,
Jolly
and then I
Roger,
think
it's cool.
Nottingham
Uh,
is also down there because it does cost 2. It's not like the one drop ones where you can just kind of play it thing. It's vanilla. You know, move for 1. Well, 6 willpower. But yeah, overall, I think when you need to look at locations. Locations are cool. Locations are fun. I love playing with them so far.
he
So
said
over
he's
the weeks,
a Ruby Emerald player. He gets to do his little dance because he gets to play good locations. Me as a Steel Sapphire player, I'm in the desert. It's not worth
yeah,
it to play.
who cares? But yeah, that's the main thing. I think as this thing shakes out, we're gonna see a lot more creative uses of locations. I have an initial list that I've been kind of revising. Maybe we can discuss it later in another video, but yeah, I think overall it's something to look out for. We're gonna follow up on this concept later as we get more playtime with it. Say like like a month or 2, especially before the next set drops in May. But overall, it's been the first time connected with everyone. Go in the comments. We want discussions to happen. We want to know where we're wrong, where we can change our thinking.
Please tell this man he's wrong. Please tell him.
Not shy to it, but yeah, overall, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.